What are the essential things that you actually need to start a photography business? If you want to start a photography business but you have a limited budget and you're not sure how to go about it, well, in this video about if I were to start a photography business with a limited budget, what I would do. Hi, my name is Katie. I'm a brand photographer based out of Dallas, Texas, and I help photographers turn their passion into profit so that they're not just running an expensive hobby. What are the essential things that you actually need to start a photography business? Because there are things that you need and there's things that you want. There's things that you definitely don't need but think that you do. There's only really a handful of things that you actually need to start a photography business. Number one, you need a camera. I know that sounds obvious, but you need a camera. Now, if you have a limited budget to work with, there's a couple of different options that you can go with. You can kind of start with something that's in your budget. You can look for something used because there is a really good pre-owned market if you go through a reputable dealer like Adorama, like B&H Photo Video, your local camera shop. You may have some good luck finding a pre-owned camera. The other option obviously would be to save up your money, and a good starter camera now in 2024, you can get a starter camera for as little as $500 to $700. If you're wanting to have something that's a little bit more, professional, they have something that's like a prosumer level, which is something between professional and consumer, and you can get a good camera for less than $1,000 that it's gonna get you started, and you'll be able to book business with that camera. You do not need the camera with all the bells and whistles, with all the megapixels in the world in order to have a photography business. So number two, what else do you need? Well, this may also sound obvious, but you need a lens. So when you get your camera, it may come with a lens, and it's what's usually called a kit lens, and it's gonna typically have like a zoom range on it. And sure, that kit lens will work. However, it's gonna be limited in its capabilities as far as working with lighting. If you ever photograph indoors or in situations where it's kind of dark, that kit lens is not really gonna cut it for you. I would recommend is to get a 50mm lens. Now that 50mm lens is actually pretty inexpensive. I think depending on the brand, you're looking at anywhere from like $150 to $300 on a 50mm lens, and I'll leave some links in the description below. And a 50mm lens is typically called like a nifty 50. It's like a jack of all trades because it can be used for pretty much everything. It mimics the same length as like a human eye, so when you use it, it's like what you actually see out in the world is what you see through that lens. So it is a really great focal length. So far, what do we need on our list? You need a camera, you need a lens, and what else do you need? So you also need to be able to edit those photos. So you're gonna need a computer, a laptop of some sort. Now, yes, you could use a tablet, but I don't really recommend it, especially if you plan to photograph a lot, especially if you plan to go into photographing weddings. I highly recommend that you have a computer or you have a laptop. If you already have one, awesome. And in order to edit the photos, I prefer using Adobe Lightroom because it's editing software. It is meant to edit a higher volume of photos. Adobe Lightroom is meant for actually editing. It's a play on the word darkroom, and it's called Lightroom. So you can get a subscription to Adobe. There is a photographer version We'll leave a link to they have a photographer package that gives you access to Lightroom and Photoshop. Now there are also other alternatives to Lightroom. However, I will say that Lightroom is industry standard. There are other programs like Capture One, and I don't know what the other ones are because I only use Lightroom. You need a computer, a laptop, and something to edit the photos with. So what are we at? We're at 4 items. And then finally, the last thing that you need to start your photography business is a business bank account. Can you run a business without a business bank account? Yes. Should you run a business without a business bank account? No. Now, if this is just a hobby, then go about your merry way because you're not collecting money. However, if you are collecting money, I highly, highly, highly recommend opening a business bank account. And the good news is a good number of online only banks that have no fees, which is amazing. It makes it really easy to open a new bank account because sometimes when you go with some of the bigger banks, like the ones with initials WF or C or B of A, sometimes their business accounts, especially for small single person solopreneur type businesses, they can charge a lot of fees. So what you want to avoid is a lot of fees. So 2 of my favorite business bank accounts that use financial technology software are Real Life Financial and Found.com. Those 2 are really great for businesses like photographers. So can't stress enough how important it is to have somewhere to collect that money and set it aside, because if you're running your business like a business, you're gonna have to set aside taxes, get into sales tax, depending on your state, the whole thing. It's best to keep it separate from your personal money. We can go down a whole other rabbit hole, but I'm not gonna get into that. Let me just say that it's important to keep your business and personal money separate. So if you're gonna start a photography business, please, please, please open a business bank account. I don't really care where you do it, as long as you do it. Okay, those are the 5 essentials. You don't need a flash necessarily until you do. You don't need a flash, you don't need lighting, you don't need a tripod, you don't need all the bells and whistles in order to get started with photography. You just need a camera, you need a lens, you need to be able to take the photos, you need to be able to edit the photos, and you need to be able to collect the money if you're running a photography business. So I hope this is helpful. If you have a question about running a photography business, I would love it if you would leave it in the comments. Serious about starting a photography business and you want a step-by-step plan, good news, I have a 21 days to getting your photography business started off the ground, from setting up that business bank account to getting your systems in place and starting to book clients. I'll leave a link in the description below, and I hope you'll join me for the next video.